Gentlemen, and welcome to an LA Talk Live special presentation, another live episode of The Change Factory, where we spotlight heroes in our community with the idea in mind that we make change. I am your humble host and moderator for tonight, Richard Carr. Joining me on the mic tonight, our good friend and friend to the station and the producer of tonight's show, Terry Bowes. And we have a very special guest who's going to be joining us live on the mic momentarily. But right now, I'd like to start the show off and with a little bit of a framework for what our discussion is going to be about tonight. We've got a gentleman in the studio by the name of Theodore Cooper, who is with PCC Football and Chair. I think I've got that right. And he's going to be talking about youth athletics. And again, note football and cheer. So that involves our young men and our young women from the youth athletics perspective. But I thought that I would frame this discussion, and we'll get into this a little later in the show after we've introduced our guests, by discussing the overarching issue of our youth at risk in America. We definitely have a problem with a lot of young people who just can't seem to figure out how to chart a path of success and prosperity in their lives. And that is endemic throughout our entire nation. So somewhere tonight, we're going to get into some discussion about our youth at risk. But for now, let's take a moment out and welcome Terry Bowes to our microphone tonight. Terry, welcome back to the show.
Yes. Glad to be here. Glad to be in the house again.
Indeed. Good to have you as always.
Yeah, to be on the panel with a esteemed colleague. Sure.
Indeed. So now you've have a vested interest in this topic because I know you produced this show tonight and booked this guest. You met him on another show that would be Sports Lounge Live, featured here every Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific with Farhan WDC Dozier and Ilya Cali Sportsman Daily, along with the Fan Addicts. I don't know their names. That's okay. But if you tune in every Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific, you will definitely get a chance to get to know them. And this gentleman was one of the guests on that show. Now, he's preparing some notes and what have you, and we're going to give him some time to do that before we give him the proper introduction. But, Terry, what was it about this particular guest that drew your attention and had you talk to him about being a guest on tonight's special presentation of The Change Factory?
Well, for me, it goes to what you spoke about earlier, and with the youth being at risk. Through my background, single parent home, so there was a lot of time on your hands, and man, you had to find something to do, or if your parents are involved, you have to find an outlet. And for me, mine was the boys' club, and man, from computers to learn how to cook. Not me aside from just
Well, wait, let's not
athletics.
glaze over that last part. I didn't know the boys' club taught young boys how to cook.
Yeah, we had cooking classes.
First
man.
of all,
Hobo
and
stew.
secondly,
Hobo stew.
we need you to create some hobo stew for craft services here at the studio. I don't know where we missed the mark on that.
Yeah, hobo stew.
But anyway, getting back to your story.
Yeah, but it's imperative that you like I'd say monitor or you have them in a good program, the kids meeting for after school during the summer to help and develop them on that path that you spoke about. And what they are doing at PCC is something that it's I can see where it brings it's a unity, a sense of community, um, always with a team, a sense of belonging. Um, and just reading through, you see there's this code to conduct, how you have to be. You can't just be out there and be wild. You can't be a bully. It's about sportsmanship, and I think that's great for our youth to learn today.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, we inevitably are going to get into the discussion of youth at risk. However, tonight's topic and our guest tonight brings us not the gloom and doom story one would anticipate, but one of courage, triumph, community, all of the good things that help to build our young people's self-esteem, their sense of purpose, their sense of pride. Those are all critical elements in our community that are so desperately needed. Tonight, we have with us this fine gentleman, Mr. Theodore Cooper, who joins us from the PCC Youth Football and Cheer organization. I want to welcome him with a hearty round of applause.
Yeah.
Theodore, I see you're
Thank
busy
you for
over
being
there.
here.
All right, I see that. And check your mic there. 1 2 1 2.
1 2 1 2.
There you go.
Okay,
We got you now.
great,
Yep.
great.
Somebody switched the chords on me. Those buggers. These kids today. Theodore, welcome to this show. You know, what we started this show to do was to spotlight change makers in our community at the grassroots level. Folks who are really out there at the tip of the spear, seeking to make change, significant change, real change in our inner cities,
Right.
and throughout the country, because now we find that it's not just the inner cities, but also the burbs are getting hit pretty bad. I know you. I would like to think that you run a multicultural program, because I think I've saw.
do.
Yep, thought so. Thought I saw that, and I guess the focus needs to expand to all of our young people, black, white, brown, all ethnicities, all nationalities,
Right.
need to be embraced by some community-based programming to keep them on the right path. So again, a rousing round of applause and welcome to the show, my brother.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks a lot.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Let's talk a little bit about yourself. How'd you get started in this kind of activity?
It's really funny. So back in the day, maybe circa 1998, we're driving down the street and my son sees this sign that says "Play football." Dad, I want to play football. Okay. So I call this number and the guy answered. His name was Ricky Jackson. What still is Ricky Jackson. He was the president of the Hawthorne Cougar Youth Football Program. And so I go down and my son signs up and my daughter signs up to be a cheerleader. And I'm just a parent, right? And I'm a single dad at the time. I was divorced. And so the kids were at home with me during the week and they went to their moms every other weekend. And so I don't know these people, so I don't leave my kids. So I'm there every day. So I use my words carefully. They suckered me into being the cheer coordinator. Okay. I had no idea what the cheer coordinator was. And then I became an assistant coach. And then later I became a deputy commissioner for the conference. And then later I became the chief deputy commissioner. And now I'm the CEO and conference commissioner of the entire program. So I've been in it for a long time. My kids are long gone out of college and onto their lives, and they still help us out during the football season as well.
Well, let's take a moment of pause here and ask. I've got to ask the question. It begs itself. Why cheer? Why did they want to?
Because they had no one else to do it. There was simply a lack of participation. And Leslie, in fact, Leslie Roberts is my chief of staff now. She comes over to me at the time and says, "Hey, Cooper, you know, we get relieved as a cheer director. We need you to do that for us. We'll help you out. And it's really a lot of fun." And I'll go, "Okay, whatever." Man, that was so much work. I don't know what I was doing. But look at me now. I've been with the program since about 1998, 99.
Wow. Hold on.
18,
Wait for it.
19
Wait
years.
for it. Deserve another.
All right.
Unless you're ready, you said the 70s? How long has PCC been around?
Oh, this piece has been around about 40 years.
40.
Our founder,
77?
yes, somewhere around there.
So-
Our founder, who since passed on, Craig Burris, founded the Pacific Coast Youth Football Conference, and I've just carried on what he trained me to do. I was his chief deputy commissioner while he was alive. So,
And I'm glad you pointed out PCC stands for Pacific
Pacific
Coast.
Coast
Conference.
Pacific Coast Youth
Coast
Football
Youth.
and Cheer.
Okay,
So the
very
Pacific
good.
Coast Conference, yes.
Okay, very good, very good. Where are you guys based out of?
Our home, well, we're here in the Lawndale area because we use
Okay.
my office as our home office now.
Very nice.
Over at World Financial Group, and but we've got cities all over. So right now we go as far east as Buena Park, We've got Gardena, Hawaiian Gardens, Lawndale, Downey,
yeah.
Linwood, Montebello, LA Southeast, LA Falcons, Lakewood. The list goes on. And of course,
Gardena.
right here in
Yeah.
G House.
G-House.
Yeah. My daughter cheered for Gardena under
okay.
the tutelage of Dr. Rachel Johnson, and her squad, her last year won national championships at Jam. So she still wears that. My daughter's 26 now. She still wears that
Wow.
jacket. Yeah.
Ha, hilarious. She still wears the jacket.
She does. Proudly.
All right. I want to talk more about the programming
Sure.
that you all provide. Pacific Coast Conference, football and cheer. That says a lot.
Yeah.
Let's drill down into the nuts and bolts of what you guys do. You sent us a litany of pictures, and I'm going to be showing during this show.
Great.
As you narrate. Please
Sure.
proceed.
Okay. So what we do is we are the governing body or the highest level of authority for the cities that are within our particular conference. Every city in our conference is governed by their own board, and they have a representative on my board of directors, which is the board of presidents. So every city has a president.
Okay.
The presidents sit on my board of directors. They each have a vote and a say. They're all stakeholders. I don't have a vote. I have the tie-breaking vote. So each city has a representation as a president. I have a chief deputy commissioner of cheer, and I have a chief deputy commissioner of football. Each of those individuals have a vote. As we move forward, my board of directors, which includes my board of presidents and my two chief deputies, they, by vote, they set bylaws and rules. I, on the other hand, then enforce those rules, and I set policy along with my executive staff of deputy commissioners.
Okay.
So we make sure that the cities are playing fairly by the rules, and when they get caught, because we are bound by rules and we believe in them heavily.
No, help me understand this, right? I think I saw on the website it was a code of conduct for parents, right?
Yes.
And I say again, right?
You gotta love that.
I saw like a emphasis on the weigh-in.
That's
so
right.
all kids weigh before every game, or is just one particular weigh-in, like at
No.
the beginning of the season?
So here's
Instead
how
of
it
the
goes
parents
with
have to
us.
stay away from it. I
That's
was
right.
like, wow,
We have, there's only one group of kids who only get once weighed in one time, and that's our flag kids.
okay.
Once
It's
they're
just-
weighed in certification, they're no longer weighed in.
Yeah.
Every other child that plays tackle is
Tackle
weighed
football.
in at the beginning of every single game.
Okay. All right.
Parents are not allowed in the weigh-in area. It's what we call a sterile area. In fact, if you had a chance to look at the bylaws and our tackle rules, it has to be in an enclosed or roped-off area. Parents are not allowed.
to. Okay.
And trust
Good,
me, every
good,
now
good,
and then
good.
a parent will come by, and I've suspended parents for that. I give them a
Yeah.
chance. You have to leave. I'm not leaving. Okay, you're gone.
Yeah.
In fact, you can take the whole year off. Don't come back.
Yeah.
And how does that impact the youth, the child?
Well,
the
here's how
parent?
here's how our
Are
board.
they also
Yes.
expelled for the year?
Yes.
Uh-oh.
So
So
here's what
now
happens.
the kids have to parent the parents.
That's
There's
right.
a parent
When it
code of
comes to youth
conduct.
football.
Yeah, you have
That's
a
right.
parent code of conduct. you have
Without
to
a
sign.
code of conduct, you really are going to have just a lot of anarchy. First of all, football is nothing but organized chaos, right?
Did you
So-
play?
Yes. Yeah. Played in
And-
high school.
Okay. And what position?
Yeah, I rode that bench, but I was real small in high
Guard,
school.
end, and tackle.
That's it.
Guard the end of the bench and tackle anybody that comes near.
that's
it.
right. And so here in our youth program, if we don't have rules, we'll just have just
Yeah,
anarchy.
yeah, even
And
more.
so our rules are very specific. And the way our rules are written, our board of our directors had the foresight to say, okay, here's how we're going to control the parent. Because we always, my deputy commissioners will always give you a chance. And we remind you, okay, you can't do this, X, Y, and Z. Now remember, coach, if you get suspended, our rule says the child associated with that parent must go.
Must be suspended also.
So if a parent is thrown out of a game, the game is stopped. The child is removed from the game along with the parent. If the parent gets
you
a week,
guys aren't messing
the
around.
kid gets
huh?
a week. If
Mm.
the parent gets a year, the kid gets a year. There are parents who are banned from our program. Their kids can't play, and it's
Wow.
unfortunate.
Unfortunate. I mean, is it for reasons of like my kid doesn't get enough playing time? Or
No,
like, it's just always-
most of the time it's just I won't say the inability, but the refusal to read and follow a rule, and you're given a chance
Mhm.
to adhere to the rule. Like we don't allow noisemakers in our stands. It just
Okay.
incites the other side. You can scream as much as you want. You can rally for your team, but you can't have horns and noisemakers. If you have one,
Yeah,
we're going
because
to
they're
ask you to,
kids anyway.
right.
Yeah.
We're going to ask
Pretty
you,
strict.
please take the
Wow.
noisemaker out.
Mhm.
I'm not taking anything out. I'm giving you one more shot.
Take the nose.
Now
maker.
you're suspended. Now, if you don't, you have to leave, and we're going to stop the game and pull your child from the game.
Wow, you guys aren't playing.
No,
No.
my thing is, I would think that a parent that wanted to be, like so involved, even with the trying to see the way in, trying to do this, that they might come help and help the cheerleaders. I mean, I don't know.
Well, let me say
volunteer
this.
for like how
Let me tell you,
because you maybe get you like how you got involved. Like,
right.
how about you come be more involved with some of the program and we
By
can,
and large, we have a huge support system when it comes to our parents.
Yeah.
Our parents, by and large, volunteer. They come out and they do whatever is asked. It's just a very finite few that don't follow the
bad
rules.
apples.
And really, I wouldn't call them bad apples. I just call them people who don't want to follow rules. Some people just don't follow rules. And we give them every opportunity to do so, because at the end of the day, what you want as a commissioner is to walk out on the field and see a bunch of happy faces, knowing that they're safe. No one is running onto the field that's not supposed to be there, and that the game is played and called fairly. So by and large, we have a great support staff. We have a lot of volunteers, because on any given Saturday, every team must have at least 2 volunteers to play. They have two people to count plays, and then the home team must also have 3 people to hold the chains that are non-coaching people. So we do get a lot of parent participation. We just had our awards ceremony about 2 weeks ago
For
in the city of
2017
Lakewood.
for
Yes,
the year.
we did. And it was very successful. A lot of people came out. A lot of people were acknowledged for their volunteerism, and so that's something that we appreciate.
Hey, I know, going back to a point you made last time, walking out into the field and seeing happy, safe kids.
Yes.
The tackling program.
Yes.
And I see it's what hashtag better safer.
We partner with USA Football,
And
in order
NFL, I saw that, yeah,
right
everybody.
in order to communicate with the NFL,
Heads
you
up
must
tackling,
you
yeah.
must have USA Football, and we use heads up tackling. I just went to the national convention for USA Football in at the end of January. We're headed to a conference this Saturday. So my chief of staff and my chief deputy commissioner for the commissioners to do more training on tackling. We have a coaches clinic that every coach is required to attend. Typically, we run it right out of Long Beach City College with Coach Brett Peabody. We do our part as it relates to the rules that have made changes and what's important to us, and then he handles the rest when it comes to tackling. So we cover as many aspects as we can. And if you don't have a USA Football certificate and you didn't go to coaching clinic, you're not coaching.
Okay, good. And for parents out there, they're listening and they wonder about the safety of their kids.
Right.
And they're playing the sports and with the concussion protocols.
Yeah,
speak and
that's
everything.
interesting, because I was talking to Coach.
Do they get new equipment for you? I mean, what's equipment like for 5 to 14 years for
So,
Pop Warner now? You know?
our equipment, our helmets have to be recertified every year. So every city is responsible for reconditioning their helmets. Every kid has to be weighed in, and we use the latest equipment that is out. So they're required to wear their pads and their cleats to the weigh-in section. They leave their helmets and their shoulder pads with their team. That's something that each city handles. The conference looks at everything else.
But that's safety. I know that's one
We're
of the
very
main
big
things.
on safety.
I saw the video for the heads up tackling. Like, you got to see what you're hitting. And
That's right.
now, and also too, when I was watching the video, I'm thinking, I know former cheerleaders. I'm like, I don't know if you toss the cheerleaders in the air, but being tossed 15 feet in the air,
We do.
and coming down and somebody not catching you, you can get hurt playing. I'm adamant about if you're athletic that you're probably going to be injured, and I can pretty sure that it's just as you're concerned about safety for cheerleaders also.
We are. We're very concerned about the safety of all the cheers in our program, in football, including cheer. Each cheer coach has to go through training. Each cheer leader has to go to cheer camp. Each football player must have 2 weeks of conditioning before any tackling or hitting at all. So we do a lot of safety protocols. And when it comes to, you mentioned concussions, any sport a child plays, whether it's basketball,
Yeah.
skateboarding, bicycle riding, cricket, whatever sport you play, there's going
Gonna
to be
be
a
injuries,
degree of risk, and
risk
there's going
of
to be
injuries.
some concussions involved.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. I can remember I had so many concussions. Right? And back then, I grew up back in the day, and it was just like, yeah, you went to the hospital, and they watched you, and yeah, you came back home.
Now,
But
you know
I
what?
certainly don't want to make light of concussions.
no, we're
No,
not
we
making
don't.
light of it.
We
And
don't.
I probably speak um, as the oldest guy in the room. And I got to tell you, man, when I was coming up, every kid on my block wound up with a concussion at the end of the summertime. At least one or more at the end of the day, and on any given summer season, it just occurred. And they you'd fall off your bike and bump your head
Right.
pretty hard, and so your friends would walk you up to your mom's
Yeah.
house, and they'd tell your mom what happened, and your mom would bring you in the house and give you some ice packs
Ice pack,
and
cold
make sure you
rag,
didn't fall asleep.
a Coca-Cola.
That's all I remember is like, don't let him go to sleep.
Well,
But I think that when you look at sports nowadays, and in fact, to some greater or lesser degree, the evolution of the human body, these kids are a lot stronger, a lot
not only
sooner,
are they
Everyone
and
was
a lot
not only
faster.
not only a lot stronger, a lot sooner.
Mm.
When it comes to the Pacific Coast Conference and all of the youth sports, youth football, we did a conference with LA 84 earlier in last year, in the season last year. And the LA Chargers were there, the Rams were there, UCLA, USC, a lot of referees, and a lot of the conference commissioners from around. And we found it interesting that of all of the youth football conferences out there, Pacific Coast Youth Football is the only conference in the LA area that actually hires a medical staff to care for our children. So if you're injured on the field in any way, coaches are not allowed to touch you or talk to you. We
Okay.
suspended more coaches from getting involved because a kid sees a coach, coach says get up, kid gets up.
That's what you.
Coach says stay down, kid stays down. So we actually pay for our medical services. And they're provided by MVP Family Practices and Sports Medicine in Downey, Dr. Ray Gonzalez. He's our medical director. He heads that program for us. And those men and women have final authority. So if a kid goes down and I think he's okay and the medic says he's not, he's done for the day. Whatever that medic says is what happens.
Yeah, I mean that's a great thing. 'Cause as I speak back on my past and youth, and just seeing kids and people play day, you always want to go, especially if you're coach. If you're injured, you play that 70%. You might really be hurt, but you really want to play.
Right.
And if the coach says you can go, right? You're like, yeah. I mean, I mean, in your heart you want
Right.
to go, but I can see like that separation of powers. Like
Well-
saying like, hey, the decision's gonna come from here.
It
and
does.
Not you.
And-
that's
and
that's
one
a
of
good
the-
thing,
one
especially
of-
for youth sports.
It is. One of the bylaws and tackle rules in our program is we don't play hurt children. This is not high school ball. This is not college ball. If a child declares himself injured, he's done for the day. There's no return from that. If a child is injured, we don't play through injuries here at Pacific Coast Conference.
It's a great thing.
We don't play through injuries.
I have a question
Yes,
about heads up tackling. With the recent spike in awareness, let's just say,
Okay.
because CTE has been happening for decades in pro football and
Yes.
football all the way down to youth, and sometimes it doesn't manifest itself until adulthood. But with the recent spike in awareness in this issue, a couple of years back, and I want to speak to both you gentlemen as athletes, of course, but I played a little youth football, or let's say youth in my teens. Yeah, that's youth still, and I coached some little league football in my youth. That was a long time ago. That said, there was a suggestion that removing the face mask from helmets would be beneficial to teach young people, and again, this is years ago, how to heads up tackle more effectively, feeling that without that face guard, you'd better.
You're not invincible.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I think that was, it's kind of out there as a concept, but
That's scary.
yeah. But keeping in mind, football originated with those type of helmets. There
That's
were
right.
no face guards.
That's right.
And I remember as a kid coming up and watching football and how face guards evolved.
Right.
There used to be just one guard across the mouth area.
Right.
Forget the nose.
I mean, it's a bit before my time. I'm
Yeah.
saying, right?
Yeah,
Right.
I'm the oldest guy in the room. I'm trying to explain to you what I've seen. And then the quarterback would get the two guards, you know,
Mhm.
and then eventually linemen got the whole cages. And then there was a lot of technology put into helmets. And I remember reading a magazine article about that in the late 70s because it became a bit of a concern then, but
Yeah.
certainly not in terms of the concern of the health of the athlete as much as it is nowadays.
Right.
What do you think about that?
Well, I'll say this again, and I'm going to refer back to USA Football. At our last conference, they talked about the evolution of football as it relates to the evolution of baseball. So they explained that with baseball, they start with T-ball. Then they go to coach pitch, and they go to slow pitch, and they go to fast pitch. One of the things they're looking at is for some of the kids having a progression from flag, instead of going straight to tackle, going into a soft shell touch program. Now, at the PCC, we're going to institute that for our off-season spring ball. It's run by a company called Rock Solid, and they're calling it Flex Football, and it helps our children get better prepared for tackle. And so I think that it's a bit difficult.
Because one just pulling them to the ground?
No, touch. If you take a kid to the ground, it's a penalty.
Oh, it's a penalty.
It's a penalty if you take a kid to the ground, right?
And I would like to interject that
Sure.
flag football was very, very popular at one point in the country
amongst adults.
amongst young people, well, adults as well, because of course, you know, you got a job and you don't want to get messed up and not wind up being at work on Monday. But even amongst young people, flag football became popular. But for lack of a better word, I'm going to say this because it's internet radio. It became sissified.
Okay.
You know, and people out there from my era understand what that means, and with no
You mean
offense,
like pro
but
football?
it
No,
you need to go take that to Sports Times Live on Monday at 5
That's safety.
Pacific.
It's safety.
But it became sissified,
Okay.
where you know little guys who were tough, you know, they didn't play flag football, you know, and so it fell out of favor. And now I'm seeing it come back, not with just young people, because I think it's a great staging area. I think that's a better skill trainer.
Okay.
You're a runner, you're a defensive back, you're a blocker, you know, you're a linebacker. I think it's a great way to develop, you know, your true athletic skills without just the pure brute force of it all. Because if you got a kid running back with, you know, running flag football, and he can get 20, 30 yards down the field, that kid got some moves.
Yeah. Well,
you know?
it all comes down, I think, to coaching.
Of course.
If you've got proper coaching and you're in a program that has a system that they run by, and there are lots of rules that people must abide by, then I think both flag, touch, or tackle can be very successful. One of the things I'll say about tackle football is that I'm not sure there's a whole lot out there outside of being a military cadet that is going to teach you more about discipline and teamwork, because truly the team is only as strong as the weakest person on the field at that play.
True.
And if you miss your hit and your run, then that play is not going to go as planned. And so, you know, we embrace all types of football, whether it's going to be touch, tackle, or flag. And I think the tackle football is important, particularly in the inner city environments. Because it's what we're accustomed to. It's what we want to play. It's what we've grown up wanting to play. And it does more for getting, I mean, if you take tackle football away from cities that don't have other sports, I mean, let's just be frank.
Yeah.
If I live in,
Can't go play
in
tennis,
South
what
Los
you saying. You're not
Angeles.
gonna go
Well, you
play
can play
tennis.
tennis, but you're not going to go play cricket.
No.
Right? Brother not going to
No,
go play
play
cricket.
cricket.
He's
No.
not going to go
No.
play, you know, badminton. He's going to play a sport that is good for him. And we encourage kids to play all types of sports, not just
Yes.
football. I mean, we love football, but, you know, you have to be well-rounded in what you do.
It's everything. Now I was thinking, I was going to say, actually, I was like, what about basketball?
Yes, we have kids that play football and they go and they play